The deep space mining vessel Horizon drifted silently through the Kuiper Belt, its sensors sweeping methodically through the darkness. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge viewport, her dark eyes fixed on the endless field of ice and rock that stretched before them. 20 years of deep space operations had taught her to trust her instincts, and right now, something felt different. "Captain, we're picking up an anomalous reading," Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez called from his station. His fingers danced across the holographic display, bringing up a three-dimensional map of their surroundings. "It's unlike anything in our database." Sarah moved to his station, studying the readout. The object was perfectly spherical, about 3 meters in diameter, and emitting a faint energy signature that seemed to pulse in regular intervals. "Natural formation." "Negative," Marcus replied, his voice tight with excitement. "The symmetry is too perfect. This is artificial." Sarah felt her pulse quicken. In the century since humanity had begun its expansion into the solar system, they'd found plenty of resources, but never any sign of alien artifacts. How was this missed by the survey drones? "It wasn't here before," Marcus said, double-checking his readings. "The energy signature just appeared, like it was waiting for us." Sarah keyed the ship-wide comm. Dr. Patel to the bridge. If they were going to investigate an alien artifact, she wanted their xenoarchaeologist present. Within minutes, Dr. Amara Patel arrived, her usually composed demeanor betraying a hint of excitement as she reviewed the sensor data. "This is extraordinary," she breathed, enlarging the holographic display. "The energy signature, it's not random. There's a pattern here, almost like." "Like what?" Sarah prompted. "Like it's trying to communicate." The decision to retrieve the artifact wasn't made lightly. Sarah spent an hour consulting with Earth Command, but in the end, the choice was clear. Humanity couldn't pass up its first contact with alien technology. The retrieval operation was textbook. Their automated drones carefully secured the sphere and brought it into the Horizon's cargo bay. Dr. Patel's team worked around the clock, studying the artifact from every angle. The sphere's surface was covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change when viewed from different angles. But it wasn't until the third day that they made the breakthrough. "It's a warning," Dr. Patel announced during the emergency briefing. The ship's senior staff sat in stunned silence as she displayed her findings. "The patterns are a universal language based on mathematical constants. We've managed to decode about 60% of it." Sarah leaned forward. "What exactly is it warning us about?" "Something ancient," Amara replied, her voice grave. "Something that exists in the space between galaxies. The message calls it the Void Shepherd. According to this, it's been containing a destructive force for millions of years, protecting younger civilizations until they're ready." "Ready for what?" Marcus asked. "The message isn't clear on that, but it specifically warns that technological development beyond certain boundaries risks disturbing the containment. The civilization that left this warning, they'd retreated back to their home systems. They're suggesting we do the same." The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. Humanity had spent the last century pushing outward, establishing colonies, developing faster than light travel. The idea of retreating, of abandoning everything they'd built. "There's more," Amara continued. "This isn't the only warning beacon. They're scattered throughout the galaxy, left by different civilizations, all carrying the same message: retreat or face the consequences." The briefing room erupted in debate. Some argued for caution, for taking the warning seriously. Others insisted that humanity couldn't simply abandon its destiny among the stars. Sarah listened to both sides, her mind racing with the implications. When Earth Command received their report, the response was swift. Within hours, similar artifacts were being discovered throughout the solar system, as if their first discovery had triggered the others to reveal themselves. The message was clear: humanity was being watched, and decisions needed to be made. Global leaders gathered in emergency sessions. Scientists debated the validity of the warning. Military strategists prepared for every possible scenario. But as the days turned into weeks, a pattern emerged in humanity's response. They weren't retreating. They weren't giving up. Sarah stood once again at the viewport of the horizon, watching as a fleet of research vessels gathered around their position. Each ship carried scientists, engineers, and military personnel, all working together to understand the warning and find a way forward. "What do you think?" Marcus asked, joining her at the viewport. "Should we be afraid?" Sarah considered the question carefully. "I think," she said finally, "that humanity has never been good at following orders from above, whether they come from Earth or the stars. And if this void shepherd is real, then we'll face it together." Sarah turned from the viewport, her decision made. Humanity didn't come this far by backing down from challenges. We came this far by facing them head-on. As the horizon prepared to join the growing fleet of investigation vessels, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was about to embark on its greatest adventure, or perhaps its greatest mistake. But one thing was certain: they would face whatever came next on their own terms. The warning had been delivered, but humanity, true to its nature, had chosen defiance. 6 months after the discovery of the warning artifacts, humanity's expansion into deep space continued unabated. The horizon had been transformed into the flagship of what was now called the Vanguard Fleet, a collection of Earth's most advanced vessels, dedicated to pushing the boundaries of explored space. Captain Sarah Chen now commanded not just a ship, but humanity's first line of defense against whatever waited in the void. The horizon's bridge hummed with activity as they prepared to make another FTL jump, pushing further into unexplored territory. "Jump calculations complete," Marcus announced from his station. 6 months of intensive operations had left dark circles under his eyes, but his voice remained steady. "We'll be the first human vessel to cross the Orc cloud boundary in this sector." Dr. Paddle stood at her new research station, surrounded by holographic displays showing data from the warning artifacts. "The energy signatures are getting stronger. Whatever the Void Shepherd is, we're getting closer." Sarah nodded, settling into her command chair. "All stations, prepare for jump. Let's see what's out there." The jump itself was routine, a brief distortion of space-time, a moment of impossible colors streaming past the viewports, and then they were there. But what waited for them was anything but routine. Multiple contacts. Marcus's voice cracked with alarm. Massive energy signatures, unlike anything we've ever seen. The viewport filled with shifting patterns of light, coalescing into a form that defied description. It was as if a piece of space itself had come alive, twisting and flowing like liquid darkness, shot through with veins of purple energy. As they watched, the entity took on a more defined shape, something vaguely reminiscent of a shepherd's staff, if that staff were made of living darkness and stretched for kilometers. "We're being scanned," Dr. Paddle reported, her instruments going wild. "The energy signature matches the warning artifacts perfectly. This is it. This is the Void Shepherd." Before Sarah could respond, every screen on the bridge lit up with the same message, appearing in perfect English. "You were warned." Sarah straightened in her chair. "Open a channel. All frequencies." "Channel open," Marcus confirmed. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Horizon. We received your warning, but we've chosen to continue our exploration. We come in peace, seeking understanding." The response was immediate, the words appearing on their screens even as they echoed through the ship's speakers in a voice that seemed to bypass their ears and speak directly to their minds. "Understanding is not required. Only obedience. We AAVCONTAINED the Great Dark in ES for millennia. Your technology, your expansion, threatens EVEY." Dr. Patel's instruments were recording everything, her fingers flying over her controls. "Captain, the energy readings. They're off the scale. Whatever this entity is, it's ancient, powerful beyond anything we've encountered. We AVWATCH your kind before." young, arrogant, believing, unkchaleng the a natural order, all have errand, all havs ubmitted, or pirishid. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine, but kept her voice steady. We understand the risks, but humanity has never advanced by retreating from challenges. We're willing to work with you, to understand what you're containing and find a way to help. The entity's response was a pulse of energy that shook the entire ship. Your help is not required. Your compliance is mandatory. Even now, your primitive technology is disrupting the barriers we maintain. Return to your solar system. This is your final warning. Captain, Marcus called out, his voice tight. The entity is generating some kind of field. It's showing us something. The viewport shifted, showing them images that seared themselves into their minds. They saw civilizations far more advanced than humanity, their great ships and stations crumbling to dust. They saw entire star systems going dark. They saw the consequences of defiance. But they saw something else too, something that made Sarah lean forward in her chair. In each image of destruction, there was a pattern, a consistency that didn't quite fit with the entity's claims. Dr. Patel, she said quietly, are you seeing this? Yes, Amara replied, her voice barely a whisper. The energy signatures in these images, they're not consistent with a containment failure. They're more like a feeding pattern. Sarah finished. Before they could discuss it further, the entity spoke again. UAV is the truth. UAV is that PRIC of DFI and C. Return to your home. Remain within your boundaries. This is not a request. The entity's form began to fade, its final message burning itself into their screens. You have 48 of your HOURs. To begin your rate. After that, there will be CONSEQUNCs. As the entity vanished, leaving them alone in the void, the bridge of the horizon erupted in urgent discussion. But Sarah remained silent, her mind racing with the implications of what they'd seen. Orders, Captain? Marcus asked, his hands hovering over the navigation controls. Sarah looked around at her crew, seeing the same mix of fear and determination in their eyes that she felt in her heart. Send everything we've recorded to Earth Command, and then set up a secure channel to the rest of the fleet. If we're going to figure this out, we need everyone working together. And if Earth orders us to retreat? Dr. Patil asked. Sarah turned to look out at the stars. The same stars humanity had dreamed of reaching for countless generations. Then we'll have some very difficult decisions to make. But first, we need to understand what we're really dealing with here. Because one thing's become clear, the Void Shepherd isn't telling us the whole truth. As the Horizon began transmitting their findings back to Earth, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they'd just stumbled onto something far bigger than a simple warning. The entity's power was undeniable, but its story didn't add up. And if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was finding the truth hidden behind impressive displays of power. The clock was ticking. 48 hours to make a decision that would affect the entire human race. But as Sarah looked at her crew, she saw not defeat, but determination. Whatever the Void Shepherd really was, whatever game it was playing, humanity wouldn't be intimidated into submission. They had questions now, and humans never could resist seeking answers, no matter the cost. The next 48 hours aboard the Horizon passed in a blur of intense activity. While Earth's leaders debated their response, the ship's crew worked tirelessly to understand what they'd witnessed. Dr. Patel's science team hadn't left their labs, analyzing every scrap of data from their encounter with the Void Shepherd. Sarah stood in the main laboratory, surrounded by holographic displays showing their findings. Walk me through it again, she said, her eyes fixed on the energy pattern analysis. Dr. Patel gestured at the central display. Look at these readings from the civilizations the entity showed us. In each case, the energy signature doesn't match what we expect from a containment breach. Instead, it shows a systematic drain of energy, almost like a harvest. But that's not the most interesting part, a new voice added. Dr. James Morrison, their quantum physicist, stepped forward. His usually neat appearance was disheveled from hours of nonstop work. We've been comparing these readings to historical data from deep space telescopes. The pattern matches periodic energy fluctuations we've observed in distant galaxies. Sarah's eyes narrowed. How periodic? Every few thousand years, James replied, pulling up a new set of data. And here's the thing. The fluctuations always coincide with the rise of spacefaring civilizations in those regions. Civilizations that suddenly stop expanding. The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. It's not containing anything, she whispered. It's farming us. Exactly, Amara confirmed. The warning artifacts, the story about containing a destructive force, it's all elaborate theater. The Void Shepherd doesn't protect younger civilizations. It harvests them when they reach a certain level of development. But why the deception? Marcus asked from his position near the door. Why not just take what it wants? Because it can't, James said, his voice tight with excitement. Look at these readings from our encounter. When we questioned its story, when we showed defiance, its energy pattern became erratic. It needs willing submission. The civilization has to choose to retreat, to limit itself. Sarah began pacing, her mind racing. That's why it gives warnings instead of making demands. Why it shows us visions of destruction instead of simply destroying us. It's not trying to convince us. It's trying to make us convince ourselves. There's more, Amara added, her fingers dancing across the controls. A new hologram appeared, showing complex quantum measurements. During our encounter, we detected quantum entanglement patterns in the crew's neural activity. The entity wasn't just communicating with us. It was trying to influence our thoughts, our emotions, to make us feel the inevitability of submission. But it didn't work, Marcus pointed out. We saw through it. Because we questioned it, Sarah realized. Because humanity's first response to being told to back down is to ask why. We may be young compared to the entity, but our defiance protected us from its influence. The laboratory fell silent as they absorbed the implications. Humanity hadn't just stumbled upon an ancient guardian. They'd uncovered a predator that had been feeding on intelligent life for millions of years. Captain, Marcus called out, checking his datapad. We're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command. Sarah took a deep breath. Put it through. The holographic displays shifted, showing the stern face of Admiral Chen. Captain, we've reviewed your findings. Similar analyses have been conducted by research teams across Earth, and they all point to the same conclusion. The Void Shepherd is not what it claims to be. Yes, sir, Sarah replied. What are our orders? The Admiral's expression was grim. As of 0000 hours, the United Earth Government has made its decision. We will not retreat. We will not submit. But more importantly, we cannot allow this entity to continue preying on other civilizations. Sarah felt her pulse quicken. Sir, Captain Chen, you are hereby ordered to implement Operation Defiance. Dr. Patel's team has already received the technical specifications. We're not just going to resist this entity. We're going to find a way to stop it. The transmission ended, leaving the laboratory in stunned silence. Sarah turned to her team. Dr. Patel, what exactly is Operation Defiance? Amara was already pulling up new files on her display. It's brilliant, she breathed. Earth's quantum computing labs have been analyzing our data. They believe they found a weakness in the entity's quantum structure. If we can exploit it, we can disrupt its ability to feed. James finished, studying the data. Maybe even free the civilizations it's already trapped. Sarah looked around at her crew, seeing the same determination in their eyes that she felt. "How long until we can begin?" "The rest of the fleet is already moving into position," Marcus reported. "We can be ready within 12 hours. The entity gave us 48 hours to begin our retreat," Sarah said, a slight smile playing at her lips. "Instead, we're going to show it exactly why humans don't respond well to threats." As the Horizon's crew began their preparations, Sarah couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. In just 2 days, they'd not only uncovered the truth about an ancient cosmic predator, but had also developed a plan to confront it. It was exactly the kind of response that made humanity unique. Faced with an overwhelming force, they chose not to submit or flee, but to fight back. The next few hours would determine not just humanity's fate, but potentially the fate of countless other civilizations. The Void Shepherd had spent millions of years perfecting its deception, feeding on the fear and submission of younger races, but it had never encountered humans before. And humans had a habit of defying expectations. The battle for freedom was about to begin, and humanity was ready to lead the charge. The Vanguard fleet assembled at the edge of known space, 100 ships strong. Each vessel had been retrofitted with quantum resonators designed to disrupt the Void Shepherd's influence. The Horizon led the formation, its crew making final preparations for what could be humanity's greatest battle, or its last. Sarah stood on the bridge, watching as the fleet moved into position. The plan was audacious, perhaps even reckless, but it was also uniquely human. They weren't just going to fight the entity, they were going to turn its own tactics against it. "All ships report ready," Marcus announced. "Quantum resonators are charged and synchronized." Dr. Patel worked at her station, monitoring the complex web of quantum entanglement they'd created between the ships. "The network is stable. If our calculations are correct, we should be able to create a disruption field large enough to affect the entity's core structure." "And if we're wrong?" Sarah asked quietly. "Then we'll have about 30 seconds to realize it before the entity tears us apart," Amara replied with grim humor. "But we're not wrong. The math is solid." Sarah nodded, settling into her command chair. "All ships, this is Captain Chen. Begin Operation Defiance. Phase 1. The fleet moved as one, their engines pulsing in perfect synchronization as they broadcast a signal into the void. Not a retreat, but a challenge. They didn't have to wait long for a response. Space itself seemed to twist and darken as the Void Shepherd manifested, its form even more massive than before. Purple energy crackled along its length as it regarded the assembled fleet. UHAV NOTORETURETED. Its message boomed through their minds. UAV instead, GATARADLN, GURATER numbers. This is most unwise. We know what you are, Sarah broadcast, her voice steady. We know what you've been doing to developing civilizations across the galaxy. The deception ends today. The entity's form rippled, its energy patterns shifting. UUNDORSTNDNOTAIN. You are SHIJILDURIAN playing with forces beyond your comprehension. That's where you're wrong, Sarah replied. We understand perfectly. You're not a shepherd. You're a parasite. You feed on the potential of young civilizations, forcing them to limit themselves so you can slowly drain their energy. But you've never encountered humans before. We don't submit. We don't retreat. And we don't abandon others to their fate. The entity's response was immediate and violent. A wave of dark energy swept toward the fleet, but this time they were ready. The quantum resonators activated, creating a network of interlocking fields that dispersed the attack. Impossible, the entity boomed. Your technology is too primitive. Another misconception, Dr. Patel broadcast. We might be young, but we learn fast, and we're very good at finding weaknesses in systems that rely on control and submission. The fleet began Phase 2, their resonators shifting frequency to match the patterns they'd discovered in the entity's quantum structure. The effect was immediate. The Void Shepherd's form began to fluctuate, its carefully maintained appearance of power beginning to crack. "What? What are you doing?" "Breaking your hold," Sarah answered. "Not just on us, but on every civilization you've trapped. Your power depends on willing submission, on making others believe in their own limitations. But humans, we specialize in breaking limitations." The entity lashed out again, this time with enough force to shake the entire fleet. Several ships reported damage, but the formation held. More importantly, their quantum network remained intact. "We're detecting something," Marcus called out. "Multiple energy signatures. They're coming from inside the entity's field." Dr. Patel's hands flew across her controls. "It's working. The civilizations it's been feeding on, they're beginning to break free. Our disruption is weakening its hold on them." The void around them lit up with new energy signatures as long-dormant civilizations began to stir. The entity's form writhed in what could only be described as panic. "You do note and what at you are doing. The order must be maintained. The hierarchy must be preserved. The only thing that must be preserved is freedom," Sarah declared. "The freedom to grow, to explore, to reach our full potential. Something you've been denying to countless species for millions of years." The fleet moved into its final formation, their resonators reaching maximum power. The quantum network hummed with energy as they prepared for the final phase of their plan. "All ships," Sarah commanded, "execute Phase 3. The combined power of 100 quantum resonators focused on the entity's core structure, their frequencies perfectly tuned to disrupt its ability to maintain control." The Void Shepherd's form began to unravel, its carefully maintained illusion of godlike power crumbling. "You've CANO2. This is not. IAMETRNAL. Nothing is eternal," Sarah replied, "especially not power built on lies and submission." The entity's form convulsed one final time before beginning to collapse in on itself. As it did, the energy signatures of the trapped civilizations grew stronger, breaking free from their millennia-long imprisonment. "Captain," Marcus called out, his voice filled with awe. "We're receiving transmissions, thousands of them. Different languages, different technologies, but they're all thanking us." Sarah watched as the void filled with the signs of awakening civilizations, each one breaking free from the constraints that had held them back for so long. Humanity hadn't just defended itself, they had liberated an entire galaxy of potential allies. "Dr. Patel," she said quietly, "begin establishing communication protocols. It looks like humanity just became part of a much larger community." As the Horizon's crew worked to make contact with the newly freed civilizations, Sarah couldn't help but smile. They had faced an entity that had successfully dominated the galaxy for millions of years, and they had defeated it not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through humanity's most basic traits: defiance in the face of authority, questioning of established rules, and an unwillingness to accept limitations. The price of defiance had been high, but the reward was beyond anything they could have imagined. Humanity had not only secured its own future among the stars, but had also freed countless others to pursue theirs. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly how humanity liked it. 1 year after Operation Defiance, the Horizon drifted in high orbit above Earth, its hull bearing the scars of its historic battle. The viewport of the observation deck offered a spectacular view of the planet below, but Sarah's attention was focused on the numerous ships of distinctly alien design that now shared Earth's orbit. "Still hard to believe sometimes, isn't it?" Marcus asked, joining her at the viewport. He'd been promoted to commander after their victory, but he still served as her first officer. "Which part?" Sarah smiled. "That we defeated an ancient cosmic entity, or that we accidentally created the largest interstellar alliance in known history." "Both," he chuckled. "Though I'm not sure accidentally is the right word. Stubbornness and defiance are practically human traits." Below them, the first Galactic Conference was about to begin. Representatives from over 1,000 formerly imprisoned civilizations had gathered to discuss the future of their newfound freedom. Earth, as the liberator of these civilizations, had been chosen to host the historic event. Dr. Paddle entered the observation deck, her arms full of data pads. "The final analysis of the Void Shepherd's remains just came in," she announced. "You're going to want to see this." Sarah and Marcus moved to the nearby conference table as Amara laid out her findings. The holographic display sprang to life, showing complex energy patterns and quantum signatures. The entity wasn't just feeding on civilization's energy, Amara explained. It was stealing their potential. Every breakthrough, every innovation that these species might have achieved, the Void Shepherd was consuming it all, using their submission to fuel its own existence. "And now that it's gone?" Sarah asked. "Now?" Amara's eyes lit up with excitement. "Now we're seeing an explosion of advancement. All those trapped civilizations, they're not just free. They're accelerating, achieving in months what might have taken centuries. It's like a dam has broken." Marcus studied the data. "Are we sure this is safe? This much rapid advancement?" "That's the most fascinating part," Amara continued. "The advancements aren't chaotic or dangerous. They're complementary. Each civilization is developing in unique ways, filling different niches. It's like they were all meant to work together, and the Void Shepherd was preventing it." Before they could discuss further, a chime announced an incoming transmission. Captain Chen. Admiral Chen's hologram appeared above the table. "The delegates are ready. It's time." Sarah nodded, straightening her dress uniform. As the hero of Operation Defiance, she had been chosen to deliver the opening address to the Galactic Conference. No pressure. The transport to the surface was quick, and soon Sarah found herself standing before an audience that represented the combined knowledge and potential of 1,000 civilizations. The grand hall of the newly constructed Galactic Conference Center fell silent as she approached the podium. "1 year ago," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber, "humanity received a warning. We were told to retreat, to accept limitations, to submit to an authority that claimed to protect us. We were shown visions of destruction and told that defiance would bring only ruin." She paused, looking out at the diverse gathering of species, some humanoid, others completely alien, but all united by their shared experience of imprisonment and liberation. "But humanity has never been good at accepting limitations. We questioned, we investigated, we discovered the truth. And when we found that truth, that an ancient entity had been feeding on the potential of countless civilizations, we chose to act." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the audience. The price of defiance was high. We risked everything on a plan that many thought impossible. But we weren't just fighting for ourselves. We were fighting for every species that had been forced to accept limitations, every civilization that had been denied its right to grow and explore and achieve its full potential. Sarah gestured to the gathered delegates. "Look around you. A year ago, we were all separate, isolated, held back by artificial constraints. Today, we stand together. Already, the combination of our different perspectives, technologies, and approaches has led to breakthroughs that none of us could have achieved alone." The Void Shepherd's greatest lie wasn't about containing a destructive force. Its greatest lie was that we needed to be contained at all, that advancement and growth were dangerous, that limitations were necessary. But look at what we've achieved in just 1 year of freedom. Look at what we can achieve together. The hall erupted in applause, the various species expressing their agreement in their own unique ways. As Sarah looked out at them, she saw not just allies, but the future, a future where the combined potential of 1,000 civilizations would reshape the galaxy. Later, back on the observation deck of the horizon, Sarah watched as ships from various civilizations moved in complex patterns around Earth, their designs as diverse as the species that created them. Each one represented a different approach to the same challenges, a unique perspective that added to their collective knowledge. "What do you think happens next?" Marcus asked, joining her once again at the viewport. Sarah considered the question. I think we do what humans have always done. We explore, we learn, we grow. Only now, we do it together with others who share our defiance of artificial limitations. And if we encounter other entities like the Void Shepherd, then we'll face them together, Sarah replied firmly. Because if there's one thing we've learned, it's that the greatest power isn't in submission or control, it's in the combined potential of those who choose to be free. As if to emphasize her point, a new ship emerged from FTL Travel nearby. A joint project between human and alien engineers, incorporating the best aspects of multiple civilizations' technologies. It was just the first of many such collaborations, each one proving that the price of defiance had been worth paying. The warning had been meant to contain them, to force humanity into submission. Instead, it had led to the liberation of a galaxy and the birth of an alliance that would reshape the cosmos. It was, Sarah reflected, a very human outcome, taking a threat and turning it into an opportunity, facing fear and finding hope, choosing defiance and discovering freedom. The price of defiance had been high, but the rewards were beyond measure. And somewhere in the vast darkness between the galaxies, the remnants of the Void Shepherd served as an eternal reminder. Never underestimate a species that refuses to accept limitations, especially when that species is humanity.